Buddha. He was a warrior who ordered the beheading of 900 Jews and took their wives and daughters as sex slaves in a single battle. He writes this, look it up, the Kiraza genocide. It's just one example, but it's a good start. Tell that to the people who say ISIS does not represent Islam. And here comes a chilling statement. A few thousand Islamic warriors, no different from ISIS of today, brought down the superpowers of the day. The Christian Byzantine Empire, modern-day Turkey, and the Zoroastrian Persian Empire, modern Iran, and it is estimated that 100 million Hindus were killed in repeated Islamic invasions of India. Islam spread within 100 years of its birth to cover most of the known world from Spain to India. It did not do this by peacefully spreading the word of God, but through terror and destruction. The Persians, Byzantines, and Egyptians rivaled or even exceed Greece and Rome in their advancement, but under Islam they stagnated and declined. Stop making excuses that the attacks are because of the Iraq War or because of what Israel is doing to the Palestinians. Islam has been attacking and trying to conquer Europe for 1,000 years. They succeeded in Spain until the Reconquista, and the Muslim armies had not been defeated at the Battle of Tours in 732, and at the gates of Vienna in 1683, the whole of Europe could have fallen to Islam. There would have been no Renaissance, no Enlightenment, no Industrial Revolution. We would be living in a dark age. I was recently at the British Museum, he goes on, and I noticed there were large sections called pre-Islamic Iran and pre-Islamic Arabia. They were full of incredible artifacts and antiquities. But in the whole British Museum, there is only one small room called the Islamic World, which displays a few gold-embroidered Qurans and glass mosque lamps. It speaks volumes. And he goes on, and you can read it yourself, it's on my Facebook. Now, one of the big lies that's being put out by the illegitimate left is, of course, about the Jews, and we have to go into that. So as you'd expect, I was waiting for this to happen. I knew that the day would come. The so-called Washington Post put out an article saying that what's going on against the Syrians is identical to the negative attitudes being expressed towards Syrian refugees. That's put out by the liberals at the Washington Post. And they dug back, and they found sentiments that support their lying position. And they showed a survey from the Gallup poll of 1938, which said that the refugees who were then Jewish were being seen in the same way that the Syrian refugees are being said today. Now, of course, you know this is a fallacious analysis, as you would expect from people with an optic chiasma that's damaged. And the Post's Dana Milbank, whoever that is, put out the same fetid argument that the Republicans are creating a xenophobic bidding war in their efforts to keep refugees out. And then once again, they bring in the Jews. But let me tell you something. To compare the two situations is not only ludicrous, it's mentally unbalanced. I didn't read anything about Jews in the 1930s planning a jihad against the West. I didn't read anything about the Jews in the 1930s secretly plotting to kill innocent people in the streets or at sporting events or on ships, at concert venues. You know it's a false equivalency. You know that this is the stock and trade of illegitimacy. And you know that the liberals are lying through their teeth once again. Of course, there's a degree of truth in this fallacious argument. Of course, there's going to be bigotry in any group that wants to oppose the importation of refugees. But by and large, they're forgetting the big situation. Is that we are a Judeo-Christian society. We are not a Muslo-Judeo-Christian society. There's not a Muslo-Christian society. There's a great incompatibility between Muslims and Christians. Just understand that's a reality. If you don't understand it, then learn a little bit more about what I'm saying. Are there some racists amongst those saying no asylum? Sure, almost certainly so. But the vast majority of Americans who are opposed to Muslims being brought in from Syria and Iraq are really not concerned with the religion or the ethnicity of the refugees. It's not being able to know whether they're coming here to harm us or not, and common sense would dictate that you don't bring them in at a time like this. You know, at a certain point, his lowness becomes so low that it's embarrassing even to be a Democrat. Is there no Democrat out there who sees the man for who he is now? at a time of real pressure. Can you not see what this man actually is? Is this presidential? When the whole world is laughing at him, the whole world sees that we have a king who has no clothes, that every country is stepping up to fight back except us. And the man is an embarrassment, which is why Trump is the only chance we have. If we get that corrupt lady from wherever she's really from, questionable where she's really from, I don't know where she's from, but if we get that corrupt lady in the White House, forget about it. You should pack your bags. All right, my friends, why is Obama bringing in Syrian Muslim refugees, mainly military-age men? They're not mainly infants and women. You know that he's a liar. Did you hear the big lie? Did you hear this big lie that they're all women and orphans, 3-year-old orphans? Have you seen the pictures of them? They look like battle-hardened military veterans who threw away their uniforms to get into the country. Oh, yeah. You think it's rhetoric? You didn't see the story? The Syrians with stolen passports caught trying to enter U.S. in Honduras. Police in Honduras caught 5 Syrians with stolen passports who were trying to make their way to the United States. Even the Hondurans are tougher on the Syrian emigres than is Obama. He has opened the door. He's kicked our doors in. He said, come on in. I don't care what happens to the American people. You can blame Catholic Charities. You can blame Lutheran Family Services. You can blame Baptist Family Services, because in my opinion, they're no better than the coyotes who were used to smuggle people through the American border. Can you tell me the difference between human smugglers and these front groups for religions who are making billions of dollars off these refugees, and they're wrapping it in the guise of humanitarianism? Tell me the difference if you can. I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or Swiss America. I want to shift, though, to something entirely different. They're taking kids out of school already, on vacation already, ski already. They saw snow in the Sierra. I guess global warming ended for the season. You won't be hearing much about global warming for the next few months. And they'll be already on ski vacations. I don't blame them. It's nice to escape. But at the end of the day, the kid has to go out there and fend for himself and make a living for himself. You can coddle your son for only so long. And I got to tell you, again, I'll go back to my upbringing because it was a very tough upbringing, I think. Immigrant upbringing. Father came from Russia. Immigrant. Worked very hard. Was afraid I'd amount to nothing if he left me be too soft. So he drilled into my head and he would give me lessons from Life 101. And it would be from day-to-day life. So if I was walking the street with him, let's say, and a bird across the way in the Bronx fell out of a nest, I would say, Dad, look at the bird flapping on the ground. Why can't you pick it up and find the nest? He said, it's too late. He said, if a human being touches a baby chicklet that falls out of a nest, the adult birds will kill it. Did you know that that's true? Did you know anything about life like this? Did you know about survival of the fittest? And it was harsh, and the kid didn't want to hear that. And then I learned in my own way it is survival of the fittest. Nothing's ever changed. Now, I understand the liberal credo, which is that we're not animals, we don't live in the jungle, we live in a civilized, humane society, we're supposed to help the most vulnerable. Ah, but there's the rub, Mary. There's the rub, Mary, and I'm not talking about rosemary on your turkey. There's the rub, Mary. Who is the most vulnerable? Those who you have selected for affirmative action, who didn't deserve to be given the positions they have to begin with, and now that they're there and can't keep up, they're rioting on the basis of inventions such as microaggression? Mary, do you understand that there's the rub, Mary? Who is the most vulnerable today? Well, let's see. Where do you want to begin? In the Middle East, the most vulnerable are the Christians, Mary. And what has your Muslim president done about that, Mary? Or the Yazidi women who are being raped and kidnapped by ISIS? What has your Muslim Christian president done about that, Mary? Nothing. So you want to talk about the most vulnerable in America? I would argue the straight white male who wears a cross is the most vulnerable in America today, especially on college campuses. He is being targeted for persecution. The straight, white, heterosexual Christian male is targeted for persecution on campuses today. Argue with me if you will, but show me the facts to prove that I am wrong. And so I'm not going to go along with the program just because you want me to. And now we can go on to other topics. College students walk out across country. You know my answer would be, keep walking, Johnny. You walked out, keep marching. Because the tests are still coming due next week. And if you flunk, you flunk, and we're not changing the exam for you. You want to take a walk out, keep marching, Johnny. That's all. But you know that those kind of things don't happen anymore. They want free school now. They want microaggression ended. While they engage in bullying and macroaggression, they want you to stop with your microaggression. To them, microaggression is standing up and saying you're a moron. You didn't belong here in the first place. That's considered a microaggression. I was ridiculed every day of my life in school. Did you know that? It made me stronger and smarter. I wanted to prove that I wasn't what they said I was, so I became stronger and smarter. I have another friend who's one of the best lawyers in the world. He was picked on because he was a small Jewish kid. I can't mention his name. He learned to fight bigger and tougher kids. You know what he learned? He learned that if they hit you, hit them harder. And hit them harder and keep hitting them till they're on the ground. That's what he learned. He's one of the best in the world right now. Is he listening to the show? I hope he is. He grew up in a neighborhood where they picked on him because he was short and Jewish. And he realized then and there, if he didn't fight back, they would have crushed him. He didn't scream, oh, stop with the microaggression. He didn't know about microaggression. He knew about macroaggression. That's all. So, what can I... You want to talk about these topics? They're not even that interesting. They're boring. Michelle is a spoiled child who got ahead based upon certainly not her genius. She's certainly not Marie Curie. I mean, what, Michelle Obama is like Marie Curie already? I love they made her into the smartest woman on earth, like Hillary Clinton. Miss Harris. It is the Savage Nation. These are very difficult times for all thinking Americans. If you're a fool, if you're a liberal, if you're a progressive, you can go partying on and continue your dance of death. But those of us who see what's going on know the danger we're in. And then we know who the enemy is because they've defined themselves. They even have a name. Now, there's the reason that Obama keeps referring them to as Daesh. Kerry calls them Daesh. Anything without the word Islam in it, they use. Anything but the word Islam. Let me explain it in one paragraph. Michael Savage has been warning Americans for decades, and now it's here. No borders, no language, no culture. Savage sounds the alarm about how progressives and radical Islamists are each unwittingly working towards similar ends to destroy Western civilization and remake it in their own respective images. These two dark forces are transforming our once free republic into a socialist third world dictatorship ruled by government zero. Absolute government and zero representation. Savage cuts through mainstream media propaganda to reveal an all-out attack on our borders, language, and culture by progressive travelers who have hijacked public policy from national defense to immigration to public education. There is no time to lose. The progressive Islamist agenda has advanced into every public space, from the White House to the military, to your local public school. If America is to survive, it has to be stopped. Michael Savage has a plan. I've articulated this plan on this program for many years. And yet the lunatics continue to chatter on. As it was said, and the band plays on. They keep playing their same symphonies of multiculturalism, open borders, peace and love, all religions are the same. Islam is a peace-loving religion. It's not related to Muslims. You have no right to look at Muslims. You have no right to investigate mosques. You have no right to restrict immigration. The same thing goes on and on and on. Nothing will change them. You have to ask yourself, when will it change? How will it change? This is the history of how in only 50 years the radical Muslims of ancient times that arose soon after Muhammad appeared on the planet took over a good portion of the world. They did so in exactly the same way. Not with bombs, but with the sword. not with the message of Jesus, which is of love, but of hate, not with the message of peace, but of war.